Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. on November 1st, 2022. If we can have quiet in the room so we can conduct our meeting. We have with us tonight Councilmember and Mayor Pro Tem Cara McFerren, Councilmember Josh Schiltz, Councilmember Dana Dominguez, Councilmember Ashley Smith. Omar. Okay. And Councilmember Omar Martinez, welcome. Also with us tonight is City Manager David Haugland, City Clerk Lee Geertz, and Deputy Clerk Shari Hoffert. It's Hoffert, right? Is it right? Okay. Hoffert. Great. We also have the Chief of Police Eric Werling with us as well. As we start out, I just want to acknowledge that there's a huge crowd here tonight, and so apologies that we don't have room for everybody in this room. There's looks like there's a few more seats in the back. If a few people, 3 people want to slide back there. Ken Brooks is mentioning that there's a few seats back there. So I know the hallway is full, and apologies that we don't have room here. We changed these meetings to the library because that's a space that the city can meet, and we don't have to rent the space. It's free for the city to meet here. If you tell City Hall in advance that you're going to be here, then we'll try to make sure that there is room for everybody in the room. So apologies about that.
Lo siento mucho que estamos aquí en la biblioteca donde no hay espacio, es que es gratis estar aquí en vez del community center donde tienen que alquilar el lugar. Si debemos decir a City Hall en avance de la reunión, podemos reunir ahí.
I would like to say though that it's great to see everybody here. We are, as government officials, we're really glad when people participate in the process of government. So we're really glad you're here.
Estamos felices que estén aquí y que están participando aquí en el gobierno local.
And I wonder if I could ask you all as a room to just give this group a hand for coming and participating in city government. Okay. I want to just take a second before we'll get into here to the business in just a second, but I just want to introduce myself. This is my first meeting as mayor. I'm a little nervous. I've been to some of these meetings as council member, but I'm a little nervous. First time running this meeting as mayor. So please don't let me forget anything. Okay. If I miss something or say something out of line, do something silly, please just tell me. I'm happy to serve as mayor. It wasn't something that I sought out to do, but I had a real kind of deep sense I couldn't shake that I should stand up and serve. And with the encouragement of my wife and my several mentors in my life and some community members, Pembroke in particular, I decided to stand up and serve. So if you don't know me, my name is Ethan Anderson. I've lived in town for just over a decade. I'm a local business owner, and I'm also a pastor of a church in Muscatine. So I'm happy to serve. No. Oh, there's one other thing I want to say about that. I had to look at my notes to remember it. I know a lot of people were surprised because I'm already busy. And I feel a little self-conscious about that because it's not good to overextend yourself. And as a business owner and pastor, that could be a problem. But the thing is, I have really good teams in place in all those areas. So that's what makes this work. And they've all been very supportive. So I'm really, really glad to be here and really glad to work with you guys as a team. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I won't talk the whole night. Okay, item number 2 is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. I know sometimes there's different words used for that. I guess as mayor, I'd like to use I and no if we can, just to make that clear, as clear as possible. The agenda is approved 5-0. Item number 3 is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the city council meeting minutes, the city clerk treasurer report, and the sewer report that you have in your packet. Is there a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in, is there any discussion?
Mayor Anderson, I'd just like to add on your treasurer's report. If you turn to the second page, I would like to take an opportunity to point out within those funds, there is a line item that's called for special funds. And that is where the ARPA money has been receipted. So the balance is there and that's where it's reflected in your cash and investment sheet.
120.
Yes.
Let me find
It's
this
on.
special revenue fund.
I didn't find it. Oh, 120.
Yes. Working with the finance committee, I had communicated that I would be sure to provide that information within the treasurer's report where you could find the receiving of those funds to follow the balances.
Are you, which page are you looking at? Okay, Kara's looks different.
It would be the second page, it'd be right after.
On the back of your, I'm sorry, so here's page 1, here's page 2. It's the other side of that. Yeah.
Do that again one more time.
Page 2, and it is on 120.
I was looking at revenue. But it's not under that.
Yeah.
It's cash and investments.
Yeah, it's right here. Right, I'm looking under revenues rather than cash and investment like fund.
Cash and investments where you find it.
Okay, so
120.
120 under revenues.
It says the special
No.
revenue fund. Yep. And then
It just says 281,000. I
Should
didn't
be,
know if that was.
should be 562, 163.26.
may approach.
Sure.
Yeah, come on up, that's what
I
I'm
just-
seeing too, 281.
I just didn't know. I see that and I see that, but I just didn't know if the 2,880. Like,
That is
whatsoever, no part of it.
this one here is just showing the revenues and the budget. And so this is what it was prior. And now this is what, because you received,
It's
back to the positive, so now this is your back, because it's cash. This is based on a
Thank
budget.
you, thank you.
This is your cash. this
So
is
that's the
how-
total that's sitting there, and then it'll show up on the
Oh, yeah.
expenditures.
We have expenditures.
Once it expands, I mean, that's why it's a 0 on that.
Right.
But what does it say on the, no.
So here is your revenue and expenditures.
There's where we'll see it go out.
So that's where you'll see dollars come out. Here is where
Here's
you
where it's
see the
sitting.
cash balance in line 120.
What is this then?
This is our revenues, so this accounts for revenues coming in during the fiscal year. And so that amount reflects the second portion, the second payment.
Yeah, I got you. Ha! All makes sense.
Yeah. Reading
Good
all
sort
of
it out.
the different.
I just wanted to make sure that we provided time to, again, understand.
Yes,
And then, you know, in the future, we can set up to have a training session to go over those reports.
that was good.
when council is prepared.
I noticed that there was an issue with reportable backups on the
Yeah.
sewer. Is that because the lift station was not working? Is that correct?
Yes.
On the west side?
On the left side, yeah, there was a problem, but I think Danny feels like they've got that taken care of now.
Is that what feeds all of like Prairie and the west side of town out Prairie Street?
I remember it's Prairie or.
Or was that just specifically one,
It's Prairie Street. It's
Prairie
the Prairie
Street.
Street.
Prairie Street.
just Prairie Street? Oh, okay.
Street.
It says a reflection of one residence.
One
Yeah.
resident, yeah,
Okay,
740 West Ferry Street,
gotcha. Okay, okay. I was confused. Okay.
but he's confident that that's.
You can get that taken care of.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion by council? Okay. If not, then we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda consisting of the city council minutes, the clerk treasurer report, and the sewer report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Item number 4 is the vendor voucher claims list, which is it separated so that Councilmember McFerren can abstain. Is that why that's separated? So we'll do it in 2 parts. 4A, do I have a motion to approve vendor voucher claims list number 1?
Motion. Second.
Motion is second to approve vendor voucher claims list number 1. Is there any discussion? If none,
I do have one question, sorry. Under line item 47 for the credit card, and it has all departments. Do you guys, when you account for it, do you have line items for that of where it goes, so it's not like duplicated in the regular vendor vouchers?
Yes, so, for the credit cards, the departments, they provide a receipt. And they also provide, a PO and a code.
Okay.
And so each one of those, transactions are broken down by their line item budget.
anything else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve vendor voucher claims list number 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. We'll move on to 4B, the vendor voucher claims list number 2 in the amount of $240. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve second voucher claims list. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve vendor voucher claims list number 2. Is there any discussion?
This is for the new truck, right?
2 trucks.
The two new.
Yeah, there was, she, put decals on the new, truck in the street department for the dump body and the plow, and the other one was down to wastewater treatment plant.
It's moved and seconded to approve vendor voucher claims list number 2 for $240. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. All abstain say abstain.
Abstain.
We'll move on to number 5, the fun part of the evening, public comments and correspondence. I always liked what Councilmember McFerren stated when she was mayor pro tem, which is just to clarify that this is a meeting in public, but it's not a meeting of the public. It's a meeting of the city council. So it's primarily these 5 and those of us who are here to assist. So we welcome public comments, but it won't turn into a discussion. I will say, however, that I do think it's a good idea after the public comments period is over, if council wants to respond, not to discuss, but to respond. And I'll make an invitation for that if anybody wants to do that. So if there are people who would like to share, you have 2 minutes to share. Please start by stating your name and your address for the record.
Quick point of clarification, 2 minutes, including interpretation.
I'll give a little more time to be interpreted.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ustedes tienen 2 minutos para hablar.
Bueno, mi nombre es Edgar, como la mayoría de los concejales me conocen aquí.
Could you please start by stating your full name and your address?
Ok, mi nombre es Edgar, vivo aquí en West Liberty, la calle 4, Foro One, calle Tercera. Vivo a 14 años aquí en West Liberty. El motivo por el que estamos aquí, no sé si usted lo conoce.
So 3401 13th Street, West Liberty. I've lived here for 14 years. Most of you know me. My name is Edgar. I don't know if you know the reason for us being here, but
Estamos aquí pidiendo el apoyo de ustedes para,
we are here asking for the support of all of you.
ya que muchos de nosotros que estamos aquí presentes, es un pequeño resumen que voy a hacer rápido.
All of us are here together. This is going to be a quick summary.
Fuimos destituidos de los cheques de ayuda a muchas familias que no fueron ayudadas.
When the original support checks were given out, there were many families that were not included.
Entonces, hace un año que venimos peleando o luchando por ese apoyo.
So it's been a year that we've been fighting for this support.
Ahora estamos aquí para pedir una solución de eso que estamos pidiendo.
Today, we are here to ask for a solution to what we're asking for.
Ya que hemos esperado mucho tiempo, hemos tenido eventos buenos, malos,
We've waited a really long time. We've had some good happenings, some bad happenings.
entonces la mayoría de la gente necesita ese apoyo de verdad.
The majority of the people need this support, truly.
Hemos sabido que ustedes quieren hacerlo de una forma, estamos aquí en aceptar lo que ustedes nos van a ofrecer.
We know that you are here to offer a certain solution. We can accept the help that you give.
Entonces,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Murcia, vivo en la 106 Post Columbus, en las trailas de aquí de la 106 Columbus. Vivo por mucho tiempo aquí y mi pregunta es, ¿qué ha pasado con el alivio que estamos pidiendo, la ayuda que estamos pidiendo para los trabajadores esenciales y excluidos? Me uno a él porque ya tenemos un año con lo mismo y lo mismo y lo mismo. Ahora resulta que es una ayuda para, está bien, también lo acepto, una ayuda para un bill de 400 o 300 hogares, lo que sea. Cierta cantidad.
We're here just to ask what's happening to this help that you're offering. $400 is not very much.
Y ahorita mi pregunta es, entonces, ¿dónde quedó la ayuda que nosotros estamos pidiendo para los trabajadores esenciales y excluidos? ¿Ya se quedó atrás? O esa es mi pregunta, ¿qué es lo que van a resolver ustedes ahora?
This is my question. What's happening to this support that you're promising to essential workers and excluded workers? What's happening now to this? What's your solution?
Porque ya es casi un año lo que llevamos luchando y nos dicen que sí, nos dicen que no, nos dicen que a ver, que van a votar, que esto, que el otro, y pues con puras vueltas no traen, nada más esa es mi pregunta. ¿Qué va a pasar? Gracias.
Thank you.
We have been fighting for this for a year. You've said yes, you've said no, so we're just asking what's going to happen now. That's my question.
Yes, my name is Manuel Vega. I live in Lady Street. The reason I wanted to talk because when you guys was talking each other, I hear one of you mentioning that Brady Street, the sewer is not working. So I live in Brady Street in the Grace apartment.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I got is why they're charging the sewer when the Grace apartment is not even connected to sewer, because that is so old, the construction that I know. Each apartment is not connected to the street. So we are paying, and then on top of that, all these people here, most of us, we work in West Liberty Food, and the West Liberty Food is the major, the biggest place that is make, investment here or make the city to make money, So all the people work there when the pandemic came, when the COVID come, we still was working there. So I wondering when the government send that, that payment, so why you guys take so long, to give it to the people, because that was the only plan to not close the doors And even I can say West Liberty is still alive because of West Liberty food, you know? So I think we deserve that because we need it, you know? If we stay working during the COVID, it's because we was needing the money, you know? Because everybody would like to be at home, you know? So I think we deserve that help.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Ok, buenas noches, para empezar. Mi nombre es Manuel Romero, vivo en Rainbow 301.
Sí, that I live on 301 Rainbow Road.
Ok, yo creo que venimos todos aquí a pedirles la ayuda a ustedes, porque han sido tiempos difíciles y ustedes saben bien que todas las personas somos personas que trabajamos duro para poder salir adelante y sacar adelante esta comunidad.
We know that, you know that all the people that are here asking for this help have worked really hard and work hard to bring this community forward.
Queremos sentirnos igual que ustedes, que nos ayuden para poder salir adelante y ayudar también a esta comunidad a seguir creciendo y mejorando. Pero hay muchas personas aquí que necesitan ese apoyo y cada vez se los han disminuido y les han estado diciendo que después. Usted sabe que en estos tiempos de pandemia muchas personas ya no están para esperar.
That you know that many of the people that are here asking for this help have seen the quantity diminish each time that you've talked about it, each time that you've brought it up. And in these times of pandemic, people are tired of waiting.
Por eso les doy las gracias y les pido que por favor ayuden en lo mejor posible a todos nosotros para seguir trabajando juntos.
That we thank you and that we hope that we can all work together to move forward.
Thank you. Who else is here to share?
Buenas tardes,
Buenas tardes.
mi nombre es Mónica y estoy aquí para que nos ayuden. Ya tenemos casi un año viniendo a estas juntas, ¿verdad? Para que nos apoyen a que nos puedan dar este dinero, ¿verdad? A nuevas familias que necesitamos, como en este tiempo nos vino muy caro la luz y tuvimos que estar pagando.
That we've been fighting for a year for this help, and now you know that many families are feeling that keeping the lights on has been really hard and really expensive.
Y estuvo casi 3 meses y nos llegaron exageradamente casi $500.
That 3 months is almost $500.
Y eso fue difícil porque mi esposo es el que trabaja. Y
That's difficult because my husband is the one who works.
yo me pongo a pensar, la gente que gana nomás 800 o 1000 a la quincena, imagínense la mitad de $500 para pagar un bill y tener que dar de comer a tus hijos, proveer algo, ¿verdad? Entonces, estamos aquí pues para que nos ayuden a que haya una solución, ¿verdad? Para toda esa gente que también trabajaron en la pandemia, que se arriesgaron a trabajar en la pandemia, sabiendo que se podían enfermar, podían hasta morir, ¿verdad? La gente, pero sin ellos no hubiera gente que hubiera podido comer.
That while we were working during the pandemic, this made us that people were able to eat, and but you know that there were workers that were getting sick, that this was a hard thing for us. And if the lights are $500, you know, we need more help than what you're offering.
Entonces les doy las gracias, ¿verdad? Para que estas palabras ustedes puedan ayudarnos y que haya una solución para cada uno de todos nosotros. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk and
Are there others here to speak?
Y como uno somos todos, yo estoy hablando como representante de todas las personas que están aquí.
I'm speaking here as a representative of everyone who is here. Como ustedes comprenden sobre el virus que pasó, que afectó muchas cosas. Yeah, that my group has these people have experienced a lot of things.
Y madre soltera también de 3 niños, 4 niños que las horas de trabajo también han bajado bastante.
As a single mother of 4 kids, things have gotten really expensive, so this help is really needed.
Ya llevamos 1 año detrás de esta ayuda
That it's been a year that we've been waiting for this help.
y no es fácil para la mayoría de familias que están pasando por momentos difíciles.
It's not easy for the majority of families that are going through these difficult times.
Por lo menos mi trabajo en la web delivery.
That I work at West Liberty Foods,
En este momento no estamos trabajando ni 40 horas.
that in this moment, we're not even working those 40 hours.
Y como 2, 3 meses atrás, no trabajábamos 3, 4 días.
And 3 to 4 days a week.
Y la luz ni te diga porque es más cara de lo que estamos pidiendo.
That keep the lights on, it's more expensive than what you're offering.
Por favor, necesitamos ayuda.
Yeah, please, we need this help.
Gracias.
Thank you.
No, Monica, I don't know.
Is there anyone else in the room who'd like to?
Nada más a decirle gracias por ese respeto que siempre han mostrado hacia nosotros, de verdad. Gracias.
Nothing else other than to thank you for the respect that you've always shown us. Thank you.
Yo siempre me dirijo con ustedes con respeto y humildad porque yo solamente soy el vocero de aquí de los de ellos. Yo quiero ayudar a esta gente porque a veces tenemos vergüenza, tenemos temor de muchas cosas. Por eso
I think you'll find that the council wants to help as well. I'd like to ask council if they want to respond. If anyone wants to respond and take time to do that, feel free. Yeah, that's fine too. Yep. Okay, all right. Then let's go on to specific public comments by city council. Councilmember Schiltz, any public comments to share? Councilmember Smith?
I just wanted to share that I went to St. Joseph's on Sunday after mass, just to meet with the community members that were there and talk to the leadership of Escucha and make sure that the plan that the finance committee had come up with last week at our finance committee meeting was something that they supported and felt comfortable moving forward with. And at that time, everybody agreed, yes, this is a good way to move forward. So that's all I have to share.
Great. Councilmember McFerren, public comments.
The only thing I received was a public concern regarding the trees in the community. It was a resident that was slated to get some trees removed and I think some time ago. And they still hadn't at least gotten it done or stumps out or something like that. So I referred him to city manager Haugland and he spoke with the individual.
So, I'm just gonna translate what Ashley said quick. Solo quiero decir que Ashley Smith estaba diciendo que después de la misa del domingo que ella habló un poco con los líderes de Escuchen Mi Voz para ver si el plan que tiene ese City Council, si todos están de acuerdo y ella dice que sí, en ese momento todos estaban de acuerdo.
Thank you. Councilmember Dominguez.
Sure. So I received some correspondence from Ed Marino letting us know that I think it's called Iowa Latinx Project is going to be visiting West Liberty on November 19th and asked for some representation. I think Omar got the same invite. I'm not sure if others did, but so we're going to just have a 90-minute breakfast with some representatives on that regard on the 19th. And the other correspondence I received, I had it written down on my paper and I can't remember now, so I am incredibly sorry for that. It wasn't like something that like a complaint or anything. It was just, oh, I remember what it is. I'm so sorry. I also found out that the documentary that Univision came to West Liberty in the winter won an award, which is amazing, and wanted to let everybody know to
that it's something very powerful, and I think every community member needs to watch. You can watch it free online, and it's called Rising in the Heartland. And you can Google it. It won the Online Journalism Award for pandemic coverage, basically. And so I wanted to congratulate them and also thank them again for coming to our little town to hear our constituents.
Está diciendo que el documental que hizo Univision hace un tiempo ganó un premio para hablar sobre las cosas de la pandemia y que todos que no lo han visto deben buscarlo en Google. Y no sé cómo se llama en español, pero en inglés es Rising in the Heartland.
That's all I have today.
Thank you, great. Councilmember Martinez. Second to that, okay. City Manager Hoagland.
Anyway, Dan, correspondence, I did, I had forwarded on, the issue, I reached out to that individual, after I spoke with Adam Ryan and told him what we'd be doing, and just he was satisfied.
Great. City Clerk, Geertz.
I did provide, forwarded, the Westlake Chambers, information that they had sent, with regards to talking of the holiday open house and events and activities, to each of these.
Deputy Clerk Hoffert. Okay. Is there anyone else I need to ask that of? Is that it? Great. Okay, super. We'll move on. By the way, if you forget something and remember it later, just speak out. Okay.
I think I remembered when I was told.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda, old business. It's resolution 2022-1101-26. A resolution to approve ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, for state and local relief funds project funding. This has been a big topic of discussion, obviously, for a very long time. And I wonder if our finance committee would just kind of catch us up to speed on where we are right now.
Sure. All right, so I'm gonna kind of run down on what I can remember speaking about on our finance committee, which was last Tuesday, I believe. And then Councilwoman Smith, please interrupt me if I get something wrong or if you need to add anything. So we met last week and we're
Mayor.
Mayor. Yes. Oh, sorry, I'm not the mayor.
No. So I just wanted from, so what we need to do is we have a motion and a second to do on the resolution.
Oh, we should do that first.
Shoot.
Yes, you're right.
That's
It's my
okay.
fault. No,
So you have, so we need to get a motion and a second. It's okay. And then once you
first
get
time
that,
in
then get your discussion going.
great. Thanks for interrupting. For this resolution, the number of which I just read, is there a motion to approve?
Oh, motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second? Great, there is a motion. And a movement. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Now we can move into discussion.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. I have done it many times and I totally, thank you.
And Shari too, because she was.
Thank you. All right, so we, at the meeting with myself, Councilwoman McFerren, Mayor Pro Tem, still Mayor Pro Tem, McFerren, Councilwoman, Smith, the clerk, Geertz, Ken Brooks from Wheelie. I'm not sure if the fire chief was there or not, and the police chief, but we talked about those things. And Dave was there too.
We did have, or the police chief and fire chief were the previous meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. So we were pleasantly surprised to see a resolution that Ken had brought to the committee to discuss, which from I understood it was something that him and Father Guillermo Trevino had created together as a good start to try to streamline how to get some relief for the family through the ministerial association. I don't know if you want to translate of that.
Ya que están hablando sobre la reunión que pasó con Padre Guillermo y las otras personas que están haciendo el plan que vamos a hacer con ese dinero.
So in your packets, we had added the original proposal that, and it is a draft form that we were provided with, and we had a chance to look through that.
Había un propuesto original que ahora ellos están viendo.
Everything looked great to us. It looked like a great opportunity for us to get some relief to these households. I want to tell you a little bit in summary, the difference between like a direct assistance and what was proposed in the proposal. I'm sure maybe some of you have heard, you know, what the difference is at St. Joseph's, but I want to make sure that people that weren't there also understand.
Que hay una diferencia entre como asistencia, ayuda directo y eso que es un plan un poquito diferente y que imagino que en St. Joseph algunos han oído sobre la diferencia, pero ella va a explicar un poquito más cómo es el plan ahora.
So what was proposed to us was three separate entities, or this one entity with three separate allocations for use, correct? One is the utility relief. So to provide money to the ministerial association to provide money so that more families can get that utility bill relief. This would set a limit per household. It wouldn't be directly to an individual. It would set a limit per household.
Hay como tres partes de este dinero y el primer parte es esta parte que tiene que ver con los bills de los luces. Y esto es solo para cada casa, no es por individual, sino para cada familia, una cantidad de dinero.
The other portion that we talked to is to provide $20,000 to the West Liberty Food Pantry, because we know that the food pantries are struggling. They need more support to get more food on the table.
El segundo parte es para dar $20,000 al food pantry, donde hay la comida gratis, para ayudar a ese servicio.
And the other portion was to provide some support for the West Liberty schools, for the kids who may not have coats or may not have shoes or may need assistance with fees or anything that a family might need help to support the children in the school system, and that was $10,000.
Y el tercer parte iba a ser para las escuelas aquí en West Liberty, para que las escuelas puedan ayudar a los niños con los gastos que tienen ahí o las cosas que necesitan en la escuela. Y esta cantidad es $10,000.
Councilmember Dominguez, I just wanted to add in the original resolution that the draft that we read at the beginning of our meeting on Tuesday night, the amount to the West Liberty Ministerial Association was $90,000. And as a committee, we talked about how that is not enough to support enough people. And we asked to raise it to $120,000 because that could help up to 300 families with $400. And if that money didn't all get used this year, those same families could apply for it again next year for next year's bills if it didn't get used. So that was a change we made to the draft that we were reading in the meeting.
Al principio, el versión del plan, al principio de esta reunión, la cantidad de dinero que iba a ir para los bills de los luces iba a ser 90,000, pero ahora es 120,000 para que 300 familias puedan recibir esa cantidad de $400 para los bills de la electricidad. Y si no hay familias suficientes que hacen la aplicación para el dinero este año, este dinero va a sobrar hasta el año que viene.
Do you want to talk about, one of you guys, like kind of where we are in the process and what, you know, the kind of, this is one step and then we need those agreements to be finalized. And then.
Yep. We're there. So after we discussed this, we agreed to raise that amount. We also agreed to support the fire department. They desperately need a new ambulance.
So giving them a portion of money for that. And it also takes about 1.5 years to get any vehicles for city staff, and we wanted to make sure to be able to approve that. And then also we need, our squad cars are very outdated and not really up to par for what cities should provide for safety reasons, efficiency reasons, etc. So we went ahead to give some money to the police department as well. So after this conversation, we knew that we had some things that we needed to check in with Father Trevino about to make sure that we can get this agreement signed, sealed, and delivered. We tried to get that before tonight's meeting so we could be good with it. Our attorney, in the meantime, and I just learned this today, had sent some questions about information that he needed to make sure that that agreement is all encompassing. And we just didn't have, I guess, enough time to relay the information.
I
Yeah,
mean, I had reached out to to one of our city attorneys, Nathan Mather, and had sent him the agreement that was presented to the finance committee last Friday. And he had some comments back, and I just kind of reached back and I said, you know what, we put together the base agreement. You said it's good. It should work for the different entities that we're looking to fund. But the things that you want, why don't you put it in there for us? I mean, to make sure that we have it. I don't want to spin the wheels going back and forth, a bunch of times. So we spoke 5 times a day. We've got down what we need. I've already received the information that I needed from the food pantry. I had reached out to Sean Kruger, the superintendent of schools, as well as Father Trevino, but I knew they were both at the volleyball tournament or state volleyball tournament. Sean Kruger did get back with me. I've got his information. I'm waiting for a piece from the school foundation. And I sent a note to Father Trevino, and I hope to follow with him tomorrow to kind of go over what Nathan is going to put in the agreement to make sure that he's still good. And I've asked him to have, if we get those okays, I told him I wanted those agreements by Friday, so we could get them out to the 3 different entities to look at and sign off. And if we get those back in time for our next council meeting, we hope to have those for council to consider at the 15th.
thank you, Dave. So the original resolution that was in our packets was everything we agreed upon pending these signed agreements with the different entities, right?
Councilmember Dominguez.
Yes.
Can we just make sure we clarify that with the finance committee, and when we say agreed upon, the finance committee is making that recommendation?
Yeah, the one we agreed upon to propose to the council.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
And then the mayor came in, and I don't know if you want to speak to some of the things that, you had some concerns about, because we weren't able to get the signed agreements
I can.
and how that changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. This is the paperwork that has to do with those agreements that need to be finalized and signed so that the money can actually be distributed. So it's a lot of paperwork that still needs to be done. So I asked that we not be too specific in this resolution with naming the amounts and the organizations that will receive it, specifically because I know in the past there have been a lot of kind of promises or things that felt like promises to the community, and then they ended up not happening. And so I want to make sure that what we say we're going to do is completely ready to go before we say we're going to do it. So that's why we kind of made that change. We run I guess if I could, I would ask that of us as a team, if we can just try to be really careful to make sure that we are super careful not to overpromise anything. If we can underpromise and over-deliver, that's going to be good for everybody. Sorry.
I think, yeah, I just need a little point of process here. So I understand, so I can translate
Yeah.
this well for everyone. So
I'm
you're
sorry,
saying,
I'm
no, it's okay. You're saying that these signed agreements right now do not name specific entities or quantities because you are worried about potentially having folks sign something that then the council will not.
It's not quite. I'll try to explain it. It's a two-part process. One is the resolution that we're
Yes.
going to vote on that's been moved and seconded. And in order, that says that the money, that council wants to give the money
Okay,
And then there has to be agreements with the actual organizations that are going to receive and process the money.
okay.
So this is ready.
And that's
Council,
what I just described, the 3 parts,
yes,
distribution.
the distribution part.
Okay.
Exactly.
And there will actually be a resolution for each of those agreements to, so there'll be a second resolution for each of the 3 agreements that'll be hopefully signed.
Okay.
That council then will act upon and then finalize.
So today is kind of like giving our intent, the council giving their intention that they want to do it, and then it's going to get more specific.
Okay, lo que entiendo es que hay como esos acuerdos que tienen que ser firmados por un representativo de las organizaciones diferentes que van a recibir este dinero. Por ejemplo, la escuela, la food pantry, todo eso. Pero hoy lo que ellos van a votar es la resolución, que es como la intención de dar esta cantidad de dinero a esas 3 organizaciones. Y más tarde vamos a tener los acuerdos firmados y van a votar en esas resoluciones separadas en una reunión que viene. Entonces, por eso ahorita el lenguaje de los acuerdos no es muy específico porque todavía no están firmados y ellos quieren fijar con los líderes de esas organizaciones que todos estén de acuerdo antes de firmarlo. Pero hoy es solo a votar en la resolución de dar esas 3 distribuciones de dinero, como he explicado antes.
And just different discussions today. City Manager Haugland has let me know that he's tried to put a hard deadline for Friday to get those agreements signed and ready. So,
Hope to have them so I can get them to
okay.
the different agencies.
From the
I'm-
attorneys, is that?
I told Nick that I'd like to have them no later than Friday.
Okay.
Because then I need to get them to food pantry, to the ministerial alliance, and then one to the school, and have them do a review and make sure they're comfortable with it. And I've kind of told them the things that we're going to be adding to those agreements, and they, at least the 2 that I've talked to today seem to be okay. And I spoke with Ken, and I think, he feels Father Trevino will probably support that as well, but I want to hear that from him, and that they sign off, and then we'll.
Yeah.
Yo espero tener esos acuerdos firmados este viernes.
And then has to come back to council.
Council.
Yes, so this is basically our proposal as the finance committee saying we want to give this $150,000 that will be a part of that community support, which includes the $120,000 for the ministerial association. The others for the school and then for the food pantry. And then it's also saying in this resolution that we're going to be providing those funds so we can get the equipment for our fire department or for the ambulance department and for the police, as well as some security upgrades that we've needed for quite a long time. So that's what the resolution states now, so council understands. When we get those signed agreements, they will be separate resolutions, is that right?
Yes.
So there will be one for the ministerial association, one for the food pantry, and one for the school. And it will have more details, so everybody knows exactly like who's responsible for what, everything else.
Después de tener esos acuerdos firmados, vamos a tener resoluciones separadas para cada organización, para la escuela, para la organización que de la electricidad, no sé cómo se dice en español, y también del food pantry. Y después cuando tenemos esas resoluciones, ustedes van a ver en esas reuniones aquí los detalles de cada acuerdo. Pero por ahora están decidiendo sobre esa resolución a dar la cantidad de 150,000, 120,000.
120 to the ministerial.
Yeah, about 150.
For community, yeah.
Yeah, de $150,000 en total a esas 3 organizaciones.
And I would just note, and that's something that we discussed, that we had originally talked about donating 10,000 to the backpack program at the school. And when we reached out to the school on that, they came back with their proposal that their backpack program was fairly well funded, but there was a need that their counselor saw and other folks within the school district of students that were needing other types of assistance. So they asked if we would consider the money that we would have put in the backpack program to do this, and the finance committee did agree to go forward with that proposal. Allow for other things to, help students in our school from K through 12.
Que al principio el dinero que iba a ser para la escuela iba a ir al programa de mochilas, pero el programa de mochilas dijo que no tenemos suficiente, pero hay otras necesidades que tienen los niños y mejor sería que la escuela tiene el dinero y decidir lo que tiene que hacer con ese dinero.
And I want to be clear, the funds that the Ministerial Association would be administering is strictly for utility assistance.
Yep. And it doesn't have to necessarily be just West Liberty Utilities if they haven't,
Their gas bill from.
their gas bill from Mid-America, and they can use it there.
And then we also look potentially at Liberty Com for like broadband for folks that are.
It's just whatever their utilities.
Yeah, and that's something that our attorney wanted.
Not for
wanted
PV,
clarification
which is what he wanted clarification. I
Yeah.
said, no, it would be for, the look was for, gas to heat home this winter. Or if it's used next summer, it'll be the electric, water, sewer. Or, we know students do a lot of work at home and they need Wi-Fi to be able to do that. So that's why we put Liberty Com in as well.
But that's what the ministerial will be.
And the ministerial, as they, Ken did visit with Father G because their current program only funded up to $300 a year. And they're willing to take up to $400 a year with the dollars that are being donated, or not donated. Allocated from the city to that program.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Lee.
And also what was really appealing when we were talking about this is that if families, I know it's not the direct money, it's not the cash support, but when you think about how much you're spending on utilities for this month, like I'll use my own example, if my bill is $300 and I can't afford to pay it, and I go to the association, they're able to write that check for me. And so when my paycheck comes, that's $300 in my pocket that I can use for something else. If my kids need something from school, that's a little bit more money in my pocket that we can use for something else. And I can go to the food pantry and buy get a week's worth of groceries. That's also more money that could be in our pockets for something else that we need later on. And I know that you all have been fighting so hard to get the direct assistance, and 100% I wanted to be able to give that to you all, but this is, at least in my own personal opinion, this was what we could do right now to get you relief much sooner than trying to continue trying to navigate all the legal stuff with the direct assistance.
Que entiende que ustedes han luchado mucho para esos pagos directos a las familias en vez de este plan, pero que es difícil legalmente hacer estos pagos directos, y eso fue una forma de tener apoyo más rápido. O sea que pagar para las utilidades $400, como $400 más que ustedes tienen para cada familia, a no gastar en la electricidad, el Wi-Fi y todo eso.
Ashley, yep.
Yeah, so there are two versions of the resolution 2022-1101-26 in our binder, right? So the original one that we discussed as a finance committee says exactly how much money is going to every organization: 120,000 to ministerial, 20,000 to food pantry, 10,000 to school community foundation. The newer version just says $150,000 to nonprofit organizations. I understand the reasoning behind the change. I don't agree with it, and I'm not comfortable voting for it. The reason why is because we have had tons of changes in personnel on this council in the last 6 months, and I I can't say that 2 or 3 people aren't gonna resign in the next 2 weeks, and then all we have is a piece of paper that says we're gonna give money to nonprofits. And I want to make sure that this money goes to exactly who we've been talking about for the last hour. So I'm only comfortable signing an agreement that says exactly who we're gonna give it to. And I know that we don't have those signed agreements yet from those, but we have 14 days to do that from the time that we sign this, right? So, and how better are we gonna make sure that we stick to a deadline than actually having to stick to a deadline? I mean, it's one thing to say like, yeah, we're gonna get it from the lawyers and yeah, we're gonna get it signed as fast as we can. But if we have to do it in 14 days, then we have to do it in 14 days. So maybe that's not a popular opinion and that's okay. But like that, I just personally don't feel
Hay que
comfortable
decir que hay dos,
signing that.
We don't
sorry,
have a
There is no deadline.
Well, I think what Ashley's talking about is if the resolution isn't signed, it dies, right? It's within 14 days.
Actually, if it's not signed, it becomes law in 14 days.
Oh,
By default, yeah,
yes,
I can,
yeah, that's what I sent you in the
veto it,
too.
yeah.
Yes,
But yeah, otherwise, if I decline to
Yes.
sign it, then it just goes in.
right. So some of the options, considering what Ashley said to the council, and this is kind of what Ethan and I talked about earlier. Our options are, somebody can motion to amend the resolution today to put back the names of the entities back in, and then we can vote on that. Someone can motion to approve as is, right?
You've already got that motion.
We've already got that motion now. Another thing that we could do, what was the third thing that we talked about?
I remember those two, I don't remember.
I think it's basically what we were just talking about as, if someone does motion to add those names back in, which I agree with you, Ashley, I'm more comfortable with that for those reasons. Even as mayor, if something happens with those agreements and we for some reason cannot do it as written, we do have those 14 days that he can use his veto power to kind of reset, and we can reassess and create the new resolutions.
Or council could just read,
Your
read the
resolution,
or we can
your
just-
resolutions it ties into the agreement.
Mhm.
So the resolution that you have before you tonight without the specifics is simply because you do not have the agreement to go with the resolution. So without the agreements, that's the reason why it's encompassing just the amount. Then once we have the agreements, then the resolution specifically goes to the agreement.
Each specific agreement will have its own.
So since you don't have you don't have the agreement with that package, this resolution creates the transparency that your intention is to fund. It's just not identifying each individual until we have the legal agreement with the resolution. And when we originally drafted it, it was to our understanding that we were going to have the agreement. So therefore, that's why the discussion came to remove it. To when we have the agreements, then the resolution ties to the actual agreements and the allocation of funds within that agreement.
If council wanted to approve it with those specific allocations, I mean, I think they can, right? It kind of puts us in a little bit of
It's just.
No, there's no
Like,
timeline about it. No, we just have to make sure that we get the signed agreements back, as long as we get them from our attorney and get them out and give them an opportunity to review and sign and get back to us. We'll need them back in time to create the next packet, but as long as we have that.
Still have a different resolution
Right.
than.
Yeah.
15.
I mean, I'm comfortable either way, as long as the discussion is here that we've had to say, I mean, the point of this whole discussion is to say, there's no guarantee, even with the resolution with the listed names, there's no guarantee until those things are signed, right? I mean, it's important that people know that.
It's not just the city, it's the individuals that are going to be signing.
Right.
So it reduces the signature.
Right.
My popular opinion that who's not gonna sign a paper, you're gonna receive money. Well, I'm sure that's not. My popular.
Sure.
Well, and then also with exactly what you said, Ethan, what's the point of not just naming them then? if it's not, I mean, if we still have the power to amend that or to change that or.
I'm fine with it as long as we've had this extended discussion.
I
to make it clear.
I feel more comfortable and I want to bring it up to the council. That's why I wanted to discuss this in here from
Yeah.
Joshua and Cara and Omar as well.
So then to expedite the process, can I go ahead and make a motion to amend
We have
resolution?
a motion and a second on the table. and
Okay, so
you
then
need
have to
You have to vote.
You have to vote it and then.
Yeah.
See where it goes.
As a point of procedure, they are both labeled the same, right?
Yeah, it's
So-
just your newest one is your amended. And the reason why they're both in there is because they were the electronic, we had received the original. And so there isn't anything on here. Is there that distinguishes what, no, one.
How do we let that motion
So we
die?
would,
Just,
yeah.
somebody,
You would vote the original, because the original was the amended version
Okay.
that you were referring to. You had a motion a second, you would need to vote. It's voted down. Then you can make a motion
To amend it, to bring those.
back.
Okay.
are we ready for that vote? then?
Yeah.
It
Yep.
Sounds like council wants to vote that down.
Right.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second for the latest version of resolution 20221101-26. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Oh, it's roll call vote. Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Good job there.
Good job, Mayor Pro Tem. We should switch. Roll call vote. Councilmember Martinez. No. Councilmember Dominguez.
No.
Councilmember McFerren.
No.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Councilmember Schiltz.
No.
Okay, the resolution, what's the word? Fails. Dies. What's the word?
It dies.
Dies. The resolution dies.
0 to 5.
0 to 5. And
Now you can, now,
I would like to make a motion to approve the original version of resolution 2022-1101-26, which states in section 1 that $120,000 will go to the Ministerial Association, $20,000 will go to West Liberty Food Pantry, $10,000 will go to West Liberty Community School Foundation.
so we're gonna make the motion to amend.
Sure.
And put those, okay, sure, I just want to make sure we're amending. Yeah.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to amend the resolution to reinsert the specific financial allocations under section 1, project A. Is there any discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Councilmember Schiltz.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember McFerren. Councilmember Dominguez.
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
The resolution passes 5-0. Community members, thank you for coming and being here. You are more than welcome and you're invited warmly to stay for the rest of the meeting. I also know that everyone works hard, and so if you need to leave and be with your family, then we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Okay, nos vemos pronto.
Gracias al código.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I would make a recommendation that once we sign, that we would send a copy of the signed resolution to the switching table so that they have the process.
Yeah. Sounds good. Let's make it happen.
Thank you all for engaging and working it through.
Thanks for filling me in. Figure all that.
Yeah, I'm just super green, but you guys have done a ton of work on this.
You're doing a good job.
That's great. All right, we're gonna move right on to new business. Item 7B. It's a discussion of signage from the Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission. Bill Polner.
I've got Bill here, it's in a proposal that you got in your packet, but I asked Bill to come and just say a few words and then answer any questions that the council might have.
So the Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission did a study about 2 years ago, it was completed. And there's 154 locations in Muscatine County that are historic sites. In other words, where a one-room school was, where an old church was, where a church was in town that's now moved or consolidated. And in all the other towns at West Liberty and in the rural townships, all signs have been erected. And attached to this, big birds indicated that we saw that in Nichols. So there are several locations in West Liberty that where the old Friends Church was, and Christian Church, and Presbyterian Church, and a few other places that we would like to erect a sign. The signs are specifically told by the state of Iowa by size, coloring, word lettering, font. It has on it the Muscatine County Historic Commission logo, but it also has a QR code. QR code is a computer code that you hold in your corner up with another electronic device, scan it, takes you to a website, which explains exactly what that location was. For example, the Friends Church. The Friends Church would be something that was started in the 1850s or 1860s at the Friends Cemetery, which is now called North Prairie, on the north side of town. It was moved into town and has been at 2 places. And then there's the original Methodist Church was an 1840s church, is on 3rd Street near Mike Luchaver's home, and that was one of the original first churches here. Those churches were originally established in the country. Presbyterian Church was south of Cedar Valley Church. Christian Church was out by Pleasant View School, which is out by Jerry Beach. And they then, as they grew in size, they came into town and built a structure. And those structures don't exist anymore, and they've been moved. So if you go if we go to add a list, there are 3 churches that have signs. The original Presbyterian Church, which no longer exists, but Angie Dickey lives here. There's a sign in her front yard. The old Church of Christ, which was one of the older churches in the county, 1845. The sign is there. Last Sunday, the parishioners went out, used their phones to look at it, and there was a big joyous celebration in the parking lot. They read about their history, which they didn't know. Anyhow, that's the plan, and what I will need before we can erect any signs in West Liberty is approval by the city of West Liberty to erect these signs. They'll be on, the signs are capable of standing 100-mile-an-hour derecho type winds. They are property of the county of Muscatine. They're on a steel post that's larger than normal steel post. That's 3 foot in the ground and 7 foot above ground. And any questions?
How many signs will be going in Muscatine?
I think right now about 10. We have to ask any property owner that we put it at, there's been a block revision and so forth and so on. Plus, we have to have one call at all those locations.
Because in the letter, it says the study identifies 104 school sites, 40 standing schoolhouses, so forth, so forth. Is that
That's the entire
quantity?
county. That's the entire county.
That's the entire county, okay. That's just not West Liberty.
Right, no.
Do we need a motion to approve? I would like to make a motion to approve the signage postings on behalf of the Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve this request. Any further discussion?
Who was our second?
Cara.
Okay, Aaron. Okay, thank you.
If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No, and I'd be happy to discuss more.
The motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Dominguez voting no.
And if council out and about, please come down to Nichols or Alyssa and. Maybe we'll-
Wilton, Muscatine, Fruitland, every county, Montpelier. For your information, there's another study I've laid on Dave's table, which will benefit residents of West Liberty. We're talking about historic districts. And so I'm planning in 2024-25 to do 2 historic districts in town. And I've got a proposal on the table for the city for their matching fund, the city's matching fund, which is only 25% of the study. The balance of the study is picked up by the state of Iowa or by sweat equity. And it will be an area from Spencer Street to Corn Street on 3rd and 4th. And that'll be one block in one district, and the other one will be on Maxon or on Calhoun from 5th to Maxon. And what it'll do is it'll benefit all landowners, so that if you want to do improvements on your home, you can get state and federal tax credits. And there's a real benefit there. And then within a given historic district, like the downtown historic district, which is already on the historic register, there's a chance for additional funds for a given district in the federal and state. So that's upcoming. I've also got a proposal on the table for many other things in Muscatine County, which may or may not affect West Liberty in the near future. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Bill.
I will inform Dave of all locations and sites and send him the map. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Clerk. Okay, great. Next, we have 7C, Nicole Rock School of Dance requesting to use some parking spaces. Anything to say there?
Nicole has made this request on multiple years of ultimately the holiday open house. You got a map showing the spot that you want to block in front of the studio, and staff would recommend that you go ahead and approve the request.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve Nicole Rock's request of using the parking spaces on November 20th. All in favor, is there any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Item 7, the motion passes 5-0. Item 7D. Talking about the police department transfer of some equipment. You want to share with us what that's about? Eric?
I sought out and received a grant to upgrade the AEDs that we carry in our squad cars. They're compatible with what fire and ambulance carries, so they don't have to waste time removing the AED pads that we would put on. They can unplug them from our machine and plug them into theirs and just go. The AEDs are upgraded, they're better, they require less time hands off. So it's just a better equipment. So when we got the grant and got the AEDs and trained the officers, I have 3 AEDs that are in good working order that I wanted to basically give a new home to. I reached out to the supervisors in the city. Allie said that they probably could use one for the library. So I'd like to transfer one to the library, and then the other 2, Tammy Wiggum at the ambulance said that the first responders in Alyssa use the type that we would be donating, and they could use the other 2. So I'd like to transfer those 2 down to that group.
Is there a, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve this transfer request from the West Liberty Police Department. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We'll move on. Item E, discussion of well number 2 improvements.
In your packet, you received the proposal from V&K. Leo Coy, our city engineer, is here this evening. This is the engineering proposal to get started on putting all the plans and specs together. That'll get us out to where we can go to bid and move on this project. So Leo's here to, I don't know if you want to add anything, Leo, or?
This is a proposal that we've already done a lot of the preliminary work, but we haven't done the design of the actual well improvements, as well as the construction documents, and the biggest problem is getting the IDNR to approve those plans and specs. It takes a while to go through their process. So we're hoping that by June of 2023, we can have these well improvements done. There's also a part to it that includes improvements to the
electrical building to make that room somehow of a separate room. We don't have all of that worked out, but that's what this design process is for.
And they'll be working with BHMG as well, so it's within the well house. So.
And they've already seen the concept plan and the study we did.
Ethan, I know you're kind of looking puzzled, but the study, well, two actually sits in the electrical plant, and last year we had Kenny Morrison put a new doghouse up on top for access to be able to if they had to pull that well or do anything. So up on top of the roof, you've got this doghouse with a top that hatch that'll move and can be locked. So most of that's done, but part of this, or part of the requirements requires, rather than that well just sitting out in the open in the electrical plant as it does now, they're gonna actually have to create a room around that and close it to meet the new standards.
The well is a Jordan well, which that's the deepest basket well to have.
We already have that.
It's there, and it's been sitting there, and it's currently in your supply. You have a supply contract with the state of Iowa permit. It's in your permit as a standby well, not as a used well, and it hasn't been used in a long time. So that was why we went through the process of testing the water quality to make sure that was good, testing the casing to make sure that was good, and then the DNR looked at it, and they were a little nervous about the well location, but because it was on your permit, as long as we take care of the building the way they want it taken care of, they said they would approve it.
And they used to basically be for backup purposes.
No, I believe we plan on using this well
As the primary?
as so now we'll have 3 wells. And the way we'll do the controls is we'll use one well, then the next time you use that next well, so you kind of alternate.
Oh,
And it makes
alternate.
all of your wells last longer.
Okay, and there's 3.
There's 3, right now you have 2. But like, for instance, you're having some problems right now in your plant, and I think they're gonna be able to, I think they're maintenance type problems, but you're having some problems. Well, that, when you only have 2 wells, that's a real scare, because you need both of them. So this is a backup. I don't want to say backup that way, but it gives you a sense of comfort that you have 3 wells, and very well needed. The other thing, just since you weren't involved with it.
Yeah, please.
A new Jordan well is probably a $2+ million adventure. So to have one at about $500,000, even though we might only get 15 to 20 years, that's worth it.
That would be the expected lifespan of it
Yes,
after it's rehabbed.
that's right.
So are we looking to approve this tonight?
Yeah,
Is that-
we're asking council to approve this engineering service agreement, so we will start on the final design and let's put together.
And if I'm reading right under number 14, that's kind of the breakdown of the dollars that will be used.
Let me make sure I'm reading the right thing. So the breakdown of dollars, the way we do these typically for you, yes. So the breakdown of, so that was 38,000 plus for the design part. And then we have what's called contract administration. So now, once we put the contract out on the street and you get a contractor, now somebody has to manage that contractor. And that's what's the next part. And then the final part is a lot of it, not 100%, but we do part of it. We'll have a guy on site, making sure and this is required basically in a project like this, making sure that they're building that well exactly how our plans tell them to do it.
And attachment 1 kind of gives a breakdown then of the cost associated with doing this entire project. As those, it has the construction, design permitting, and the construction engineering are tied into that as well. And there is a contingency of 20% built into that. May or may not be used.
Or that's like for change orders or
If something were to
happen.
Yeah,
or change
Typically, we
orders.
start out with 20% now, because there's things that during the design, we might find that change things around. As the well, I'm pretty comfortable with, it's the building around the well that we can find things that don't work the way we hope they would work. But then once we get design plans put together, we usually lower that contingency to 10%. But at this point in the game, before you start design, we usually start out at 20.
Because we have to build a structure around the well, and that's where. Okay.
And then I noticed, we're looking at least a good 10 months out, but when you're scheduled or 8 months out. And there shouldn't be any surprise with the costs in that because you're projecting that out.
That's what that 20% is.
I mean, on top of that.
I'm praying
Okay.
that those costs are good. This is a really difficult time.
Yeah.
I hate to keep caveating this,
Okay.
but, for instance, I'll talk to my electrical engineering friends from BHMG. We were talking about, you're gonna hear about this soon, but their transformers are a year out delayed.
Yeah.
And I asked them, what did you put in for a cost of the transformer? And they put in $20,000. So, and he goes, they really only cost 5,000, but right now, who knows? So I put 20, so right now, we did a little bit of that with the well too. So we think we think that 500 and some odd dollars will cover anything that comes up.
Okay.
But I just want to tell you, it's a engineer's estimate at this point. You, meaning your water department, got some hard costs on the well parts and pieces and things like that, those kind of supplies. Those are costs that we know what those costs are. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Feel comfortable.
So we can have more discussion, but let me ask for a motion to approve this, if that's our goal here tonight. Is there a motion to approve this engineering service agreement?
Yes, motion.
Moved and seconded to approve this engineering service agreement. Is there further discussion needed? If not, this will be a consent vote. Yep. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Thanks, Leo. We'll move on to 7F, discussing the Maxon Rainbow Drive electric project.
Again, as you recall, at the last council meeting, we had the work session where Leo kind of update on the Rainbow Maxon project. We also had Nathan Summers out from UMB that talked about the financing options. One of the things, and again, this goes back to getting the transformers hopefully ordered here soon. I reached out to BMHG after that meeting, told them I needed a proposal for the work that they're doing, which is to relocate the electrical lines that'll be on the along the trail that'll be on the north side of Garfield from County Road down to Dutton, and then cleaning up the lines that kind of go in between Rainbow and Maxon. So they've got their proposal. This is for them to get everything put together, get plans ready so they can go out to bid, and they've got their project management, they've got their hours built in for project management, coordination, engineering and drafting, and then construction. So staff would recommend that you consider approving this evening as well.
And then this is the diagram on here of
Yep,
the correction.
What you'll see in the red is kind of what all that is, where all that electrical work will take place, yes.
Okay, and that's correcting that kind of.
Down as you get to that Y is where they're gonna be doing that correcting, where we, just over time, when it was built, they would just add here and go across, and we're gonna try to get that all cleaned up, so it looks a lot better once those streets are constructed through there.
Also, when you're making a motion on this, would you make a motion to include authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement? Because I don't have a signature page of his proposals, so that way when they do submit that, then you can authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
Good.
Thank you.
Point. Okay, staff is recommending that this be approved. Is there a motion to approve this proposal and authorizing the city manager to sign the final agreement?
All motion to approve, like you said.
Right. 1 second. Motion and a second to approve the proposal as stated. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, on the diagram, the red line indicates the new electrical. mapping of what it is proposed to be?
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yep.
I thought we were gonna continue on that north side of the street, because doesn't that put it kind of over the property owners
on the north side of Garfield.
on
Or
the south
where do you
side
want?
there, where the Y is intersecting?
We're gonna end up doing a roundabout.
Oh,
Around about Omar, no.
Yeah, are we doing a roundabout? Not anymore?
You, that was the dream.
I mean, it would be nice,
I mean,
but they're a little.
You like that?
yeah, they're,
Within memory of Councilman.
Yeah.
so
I mean-
is that not gonna be on the property owners of that? Or I
It
don't
may,
know.
you know, they'll have to put it in the right of way. They'll have to make sure the survey and things are in the right of way. They're not gonna put it on private property. It's hard to
Okay,
say
it
that when
just
they,
looked like it
it's hard to
was-
say when they,
The concrete easement though, because I think
I
there's
was-
already an easement there.
Is there?
oh, there
Okay,
could be
because it just looked like it
There's
was.
an existing.
easement there, is there.
So there's an easement there.
Okay.
All of the power that's gonna be moved back to the end of the city property is all gonna be overhead, but then as you get up to the trail and the street, it's all underground.
Where is the cutoff approximately for that? Is it Arctic Bay or?
I think it's like when it crosses the street onto the north side right here, this line is all gonna be underground, correct?
Correct, but all this line right here is all,
Underground, the straight line, but then once it surfaces here across the road, that's above.
and then there's gonna be lines back here, right on the property line.
Uh-huh.
They're above ground, above.
Your concern, Cara, about this section right there. that
Right.
goes across that property.
Well, I mean, it looks like you're gonna have a pole there, no matter what, and is it gonna fall on top of their property? Because it looks like it's gonna connect.
No, they'll make sure that's in a right. They'll make sure.
So there's an existing
Easement there.
There's a power that's going,
Every which way they're now.
the transformer.
Yeah, I believe there's
Oh,
already,
currently?
There's a transformer.
there's already currently.
Okay, okay, I know that. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so there's an existing easement for those properties.
Question.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was curious, because I didn't know there was already existed. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it crosses the road back to Dutton overhead.
Okay, any other discussion? It's moved and seconded to approve this proposal for BHMG, including giving the authority to city manager Haugland to sign the agreement. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to 7G. Animal license charge for dogs. And impound fees.
And, okay, motion to approve resolution 2022-1101-27, amending and improving the animal license fees.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve this resolution.
We will just remind you at your last council meeting, we had the agreement with Muscatine County that was approved, and all this does is it updates our appendix and shows the current fee that you folks approved at the last meeting.
Well, because they upped the fee.
They upped it
Right,
from
yeah.
50 to 75, so our appendix needs to reflect that, and that's really what you're doing.
Wait, it's 100.
It's 75.
Or
Yeah.
75 to 100, yeah, you're
It was
you're right,
75, it is now.
correct.
Cool. I'm gonna have to buy. another
Too many
fence.
numbers.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Dominguez, Councilmember McFerrin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Schiltz.
Yes.
The motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to the next resolution. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2022-1101-28?
Motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Would just remind council that earlier this year, you approved another economic development matching grant with Mr. Gill on his building at the corner of Calhoun and East Third Street. His project was, I believe, was for new windows. The total was $8,400. Typically, it's a 50-50 match. But because of the other work that had previously been approved, which I believe was a new roof, and then you'd also in the last year had approved the new stairway that was built behind. The most a property owner can receive on a particular property is $25,000. And this $3,600 will take him to the max that he can get for improvements on that building. He's used it over 3 projects.
That's great. So, yeah. Any further questions? This will be a roll call vote. Councilmember Schiltz.
Yes.
Do I need to restate that or are we good? We're good. Councilmember Smith. Councilmember McFerrin.
Yes.
Councilmember Dominguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez. The motion carries 5-0. We will move on to 7I. Resolution 2022-1101-29. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Setting
Motion to-
positions and salaries.
Motion to approve resolution for the positions and wages for financial admin. Yep, cool, second. Second already?
We did now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution. Any discussion?
Mayor and council, I provided a memo within your packet to explain further the request for the positions. And also further explanation of a lateral move for another employee. So we would not have to create additional dollars for budget. This would just allow us to expand with them.
So then will the person that's doing the lateral promotion, like will their job, the previous job not be filled? Like now that we have a hole?
That's one
That's one of these
would-
positions.
Got it, cool, awesome.
We'll just have probably about 30 to 40 days where we'll have a kind of a gap. Well, it's not really
So,
a gap.
yeah,
An overlap.
Just
It's more of
Yeah.
an overlap, so people can train on new positions.
Okay.
Any further discussion? This will be a roll call vote. Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Dominguez.
Yes.
Councilmember McFerrin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yep.
Councilmember Schiltz.
Yes.
After my bedtime.
I think it counts. Official Robert's rules. Motion carries 5-0.
thank you, council.
Moving on, we are setting a date for city council work session on November 15th at 6 p.m.
I would just note that we had originally tried to schedule a meeting with the utility committee. We had troubles kind of crossing paths to get people, but as big of an issue this is, and after the training that we had in the past, it really felt like it was one of those that need to be done to a council as a whole, and actually having the engineers from BHMG that actually put together the cost of service study as well as the interconnect agreement to be available. They are out of Arnold, Missouri. And they're gonna actually zoom in there. They won't drive up that evening, but we'll have them set to be on Zoom to be able to walk through that and answer any questions that you have. The night of the 15th, but we think an hour and a half. We hope that's enough time to get everything done that we need to get done then. So
Will council receive some documents in advance of that?
we can, I think we've got a copy of the interconnect agreement. It's just, I'm happy to provide it.
It's just legal.
But, and then with the cost of service study, I mean, we can provide it. They'll kind of walk you through what it all means. Yeah, we can provide that.
They provide an actual report, though it's
Okay.
called the cost report. And so, Mary, I know you had with the last go around with that. So they do provide a book basically, and that's the reason why for a little more time, because there's a lot of detail within that study. But all of our engineers always provide us, so for example, Eastern Kim, they provide you a booklet walking you through all of the study. The cause report is
Will be the same.
will be the same. So,
And this will be recorded for those who can't make it.
yeah.
6 o'clock, you said.
6 o'clock, yes.
6 o'clock on November 15th. Do we need a motion and a,
Yes.
so you set that by vote? Is there a motion to set that date, the work session
I'll motion to set that date and time.
in a second?
Okay.
It's moved and seconded to set the date for the city council work session, November 15th at 6 p.m. All those in favor, any further discussion?
I'm gonna have to join it virtually for the first half and then come, and then comments I have it, okay?
What would the location be? Here in this room? Okay.
So are we here forever now?
Okay, so we get a new building.
Until we get a new building.
It's not a new building, it's phase 2.
Until we get the next part.
Motion seconded, moved and seconded to set the date for the work session. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. We'll move on to item 8, reports. Are there reports we need to hear?
Go ahead. Rainbow and Maxon project, the actual roads part of the project. We'll be presenting at the next council meeting. We'll give you plan specs, final cost estimate of engineer's estimate. And then we request that you approve that at the next meeting, and then we go out for bids on the next day. The very next day after you would approve it. So the next meeting will be presented. We're essentially done with our thing with VHMG and us have matched our plans up. They're probably going to be a month behind us where we'll go out first, and then a month later they'll go out, but our plans are all matched up for who will do what and all that. So that'll be next, the next council meeting.
So hopefully we'll be going out for bids shortly after that.
The day after. The day after we start bid. And then I can't remember the exact schedule, but 30 days later, roughly, we take bids. And then the construction, and then you'll have, after we take bids, you'll have to approve, assuming it comes within our cost estimate and you guys approve it. And it'll basically tell the contractor they're going to start in the spring. And then we've got it phased. So if those transformers don't come in for a year, they can do the road work. They won't be able to do the trail until the transformers get in to get that in, but we're hoping all that works. So we're pushing it, but we're there. We think to delay would be crazy. Costs aren't going down, they're going up, and we think we've got it. So any contractor will be glad to take that project because the trail's a small part compared to what we're doing.
Yeah.
That'll be next one. That's all, only report I have.
Great.
The only thing that we've changed, instead of doing staff minutes, we're now doing like monthly reports. So that's why you don't have everybody's stuff tonight. Leah gave a fairly lengthy report of her last one, that she and I, the ambulance, police, and we're gonna probably add another one, kind of split them up, but next time you'll have all of your utilities, street, park and rec will do their reports, so. But we'll ask those people that are doing their monthly reports, will either Zoom in or be here. So you can ask them. But Eric's here, I'm here. I don't have anybody from ambulance here tonight. I guess Paul may be able to answer some of those questions. The
So
stats
is
that
the
Danny
call
gave.
from the
It's
PD,
fine.
is this call type count? Is that strictly from PD?
So yes, this is just what they would dispatch us and how Moscom codes the calls. So if you saw the same thing from the ambulance, they would dispatch us both to some of the same calls. So that's why there's a whole bunch of different medical ones in there. They're kind of in the middle.
But all of these are, okay,
Those are all calls
From
and call
Mus-
types just for West Liberty.
just for West.
Yeah, and I put two different, so one of them is like year to date, and I apologize, it's for September. I'm having some issues with my computer. I couldn't get into
Okay,
do October, but it's year to date.
okay.
So starting January 1 until the end of September, and then just the month of September. And if you'd like to see it differently, see different info, I'd be happy to amend it. This was just my first crack at a monthly report.
This is really helpful.
Yeah, it's fascinating, actually.
I think I can't remember where, but I ran into the fire chief as well, and he said they're up to like 800 calls already.
Chief usually has his, he usually submits his the second meeting of the month, so.
Which is, it's like way past what was last year, so.
Yeah.
We've been busier.
Let's see, there was a sewer report here too. I don't think anyone's here from sewer.
This is included.
Yeah, I think Danny's monthly report really should be the second.
That would only be.
So he must have missed our discussion during the during the meeting. We went ahead and said it, so we just.
So if the county was dispatched, that was what we called, that would not appear. I didn't do it geographically, I did it by our office.
You're, okay.
So that's probably underrepresented. There have been times where county is committed.
Wow. Okay.
Is there anything else?
Another reason why we need to get more staffing,
I agree.
just by looking at the numbers.
For police department. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else to add? Council?
Happy breakfast to the fire department on
Saturday.
Sunday.
Oh, I thought it was Saturday. Yeah.
Sundays, that we start at
It's definitely going to one, aren't you?
7:01.
We've got it posted at the city office.
We have a postman already.
I'm planning to be there. I'm gonna be there
5:30 a.m.
early. I don't know.
That's what they told me.
Really?
You're gonna be cooking.
Yeah.
I have to
Good
leave
luck, everybody.
by 8:15, so I told them I'll get there. I told them it was 6 to 6:30, so I don't know if that turned into 5:30. I'm not sure, but.
Daylight savings time.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's right. I think it is.
It is. You gotta get an extra hour of sleep.
Anything else to add for our meeting, council, city hall? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Move to second to adjourn. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. All opposed? No. Meeting adjourned.